Mr. Rob Howard would like to tell us a little bit about configuration management. So I'm quite welcome him to the stage now, and give him a round of applause. Thanks, Rob. Cheers. So give Rob a moment to set up his machine as well. And in the meantime, I'll just gauge this again, because one of the things I was going to say that at the last meetup which Andy Goodmans was at, we were asking, look, how many people would actually want to come to a conference if it was in Australia? And I appreciate if you've already put your hands up for that last time, you'll be starting to get a sore arm this time. But just wondering, how many people would come to a PHP conference in Australia if we had one? Yeah? Excellent. That's all boding really well. So, you shall no doubt hear more as we go through the weeks and months ahead. So, Rob will be just a moment, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm seeing a word there. Fantastic. There should be. Now, I'm going to check in with you, Jack, and just say you should have your net there, yeah? Connected? So, okay, tell you what I'll do. I'll just try something real quick there, Rob, and see if it's, yeah. So, well, without a visual example, I understand completely. It could be. Yeah. So, it shouldn't take too long here. I'm noticing the word here, Ansible, and I'm quite excited to learn more about this actually. No? No, it's nothing to do with that. Well, regardless, even though it's not about Ansible, I'm excited here. So, almost as excited as that day I found the Rational Rose icon from 1998 and sent it to you on Twitter. There we go. So that should be connected now, like some kind of magic. So I'll pass you the mic in just a moment. You can go from there. Yep. Hopefully some joy. There we go. So a bit of magic happening now. The wonder of the internet. Good old dial. Okay. So Rob, just as I was saying to Nigel, this microphone, you need to hold it close to your lips, which, if any of us have the plague, well, we'll say no more. We'll put people off their beer.
Hello, okay, it's a lightning talk, I'll try and keep it quick. My name is Rob, and I hop around a bit. I've done a bit of PHP, do some server software, whatever. So, I've got some questions for you. Hands up if you know what a configuration management system is for like deploying stuff for servers. Cool. All right, awesome. Well, anyway, so the idea being is that when you when you set up a server, for example, or a bunch of servers that you're running your stuff on. For example, you're running a website, you're running a database, and things like that. You want to be able to, bring that up reliably and preferably pretty quickly. And you want to know what you're running on each of your systems. It's very easy. Like I remember, where I setting up servers, going apt-get install a bunch of packages or yum install or whatever, and going and set up the database credentials and that sort of stuff. And cool, I eventually got a system, and if it goes away, well, it's going to take a while to get it back. Or I want to set up a development version for my own local stuff. And so what these tools let us do is basically write down or script out what needs to be installed on any sort of given system. So who's heard of Puppet before? Cool, all right. Who's heard of Ansible before, just out of curiosity? Okay, cool. I used Puppet for a chunk of time. I'm just having to go to Ansible now. There are trade-offs for each. I will not go into them because it's going to take far too long. Go to Sydney DevOps and have a chat there, because there's a bunch of their respective users, and it'll quite happily talk your ear off. But anyway, so the basic idea, here's an example of what a playbook looks like. A playbook is a list of tasks, and each task is a thing, basically something you want to do. So for example, we've got, let's install a package. Let's go and use a template and write it out to a particular part of the file system. For example, a configuration file. And then let's also then go and make sure that service is running. It's a pretty simple thing, and you can bundle this stuff up. You can install a whole bunch of packages, and you split them into different directories or what have you. But this is basically the guts of how it works. And you can sub in things like variables or what have you, and you can have variables that happen that are run for particular hosts. So let's go. Let's think. There's another thing called inventories. Now, inventories are basically Sorry. So say we have a whole bunch of servers, and we identify the servers we like, we want to actually care about, and then we sort of group them arbitrarily into things like web services and database services and things like that by role. And then we've also got things where we want to group them by environment, so you can have groups of these things, and you've got all these servers. You can call these ones staging, these ones production, or staging web servers, production web servers. And you can have variables that are different depending on those environments. And so the combination of these tasks, these actions you want to do on the server, the variables, the stuff you want to sub in, which is going to be different for each of the servers defined in the inventories. And what you do is you just get a small collection of these playbooks, and then you either use something like Vagrant. Has anyone heard of Vagrant before? Awesome, cool. Yeah, it's a really good tool for local development. Sets up a VM, runs a bunch of stuff, and tear it down later. And so you can use your set of playbooks if you have it. Put a bit of time into it. You can use your playbooks or your public manifest or whatever to bring up to configure your development system, or you can use the same set, preferably, also in your staging and your production environment, so you can reproduce your servers. You start thinking about your infrastructure as code. I'm sorry, I just used a catchphrase, and you version control this stuff, and by encrypting things like encrypting secrets, you can version control the entire lot as opposed to random files running around the servers. I'm pretty sure I've run out of time. I'm quite happy to have a chat with this later. I'm going to be at the back somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Oh, the mic still doesn't work. There we go. Thanks for that, Rob. Good on. So, from that point of view, folks, just talking about the idea of codifying, if we say codifying infrastructure, I had a really good conversation today with the guys, actually Christian Larson, who's the CTO over at Anchor. Some of you guys might know Anchor because of a lot of the work that they do in the community to sponsor events, things like that. And they've been doing some quite interesting things as far as trying to make sure that people can have Magento on an auto-scaling platform. How many people are familiar with AWS and have dabbled a little bit? Yeah. Cool. So one of the things that was interesting to me, I found out that AWS, what they can actually do is they can choose to turn off availability zones, and so you could have a Magento app and it's running there in AWS, and they could just turn off an availability zone like that. So the way that Anchor have been doing things for their Magento apps, and one of the reasons that they end up turning out more expensive for their infrastructure for that particular offering, is because what they're doing is they're actually architecting their solutions so that regardless of the availability zone, if one was turned off, one will actually still continue to run. And I thought it was actually quite an interesting thing to hear about. And they've been doing some quite interesting things as well with a tool called Packer. You guys heard of Packer? Yeah. Now, basically, the guy who put together Vagrant, and I can't quite remember the name off the top of my head, Mitchell, I think it's Mitchell Hashimoto, is it? Or something? Yeah. Okay. If I got that wrong, apologies. But if I got it right, yay. And from that point of view, one of the things that Packer is really good for is being able to build the virtual machine images real quick as well. So you could, instead of just getting a base virtual machine and then having to go through the process of provisioning it, you're in a situation where you can actually pre-provision the virtual machine and have that image there good to go. So one of the things that they've been looking at doing is quite an interesting strategy actually, and I think it's one that we probably all should have a bit of a think about if we're doing any sort of longer term development on different projects. We could actually look at some sort of branching strategy whereby with a post-receive hook on the relevant repository, we could then go ahead and have a machine that's running Packer, just a machine that's dedicated to that, going ahead, pulling down the relevant dependencies. So we imagine this, you tag it for release specifically, following a particular naming convention. There's a post-receive hook which interprets that coming in and then goes, right, I'm going to pull down all these dependencies, and then what I'm going to do is package up a virtual machine image that's good to go. So no more running Composer and Bower and things like that in production environments, like taking one server down and upgrading it or whatever. The idea would be that you have these pre-rolled images good to go, so that when you want to have an auto-scaling strategy, you don't have that sort of downtime or that potential issue where suddenly maybe Packagist isn't available. We actually saw that recently, and that was crazy, because there were some applications which are under development where we were at a point where we just wanted to continue using Composer for the next while we were developing, and so when we ran Composer, suddenly development on a couple of projects. We're almost not exactly completely at a standstill, but we're affected by not being able to get the most recent version of things. So that idea of being able to go, okay, for our machines that are out there in production, what we want to do is have these tagged releases, whether it's branches or tags, right? Whatever you're doing on your post-receive or whatever, you just go off and have that virtual machine image prepared. So I thought that was an interesting topic, and I think it's more than likely going to be something that comes up more and more over the next while. Obviously, from my point of view, API first stuff I think is really important to be talking about in the community, but also as well this idea of immutable infrastructure. I think it's a really important one too, so hopefully that was of interest. But anyway, that wasn't a lightning talk, that was just a gas bag. So what we'll do is, I think we need to start wrapping things up a little bit. So it might be nice to give away a further prize. Lightning talk. Popular vote. Well, folks, popular vote. We can't give it to Jack, and we just can't give it to Jack. Although Jack, thanks, awesome. But what we'll do, there's Nigel and there's Rob. Folks, if you could give us a cheer for Nigel for getting up and giving his talk, and cheer will also indicate prize as well. So loud clap and a cheer for Nigel. Thank you very much, folks. And one for Rob as well. Those were almost the same, weren't they? Yeah. Well, let's do it again once more. Nigel. Awesome. And Rob. But there was a little bit of a woo in there, so we'll go for Rob there. Thanks very much, and Nigel, thanks a lot for getting up and giving that as well. I appreciate, as I say, technology as it is. Sometimes it doesn't work out quite as you expect, but it was good to hear about that. Thank you very much indeed. So Rob, thank you very much. You'd like to claim your prize from Mr. Skinner? You. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Alrighty. So, one more lucky draw prize. Shall we have a countdown? 3, 1. What? When? Resolving host. Resolving host. Resolving host. You don't even need me to say resolving host.
Dave, where's your Wi-Fi shortcut?
My Wi-Fi shortcut?
Yeah.
What do you mean my Wi-Fi shortcut? Web page not available. Please come accept. Oh, that's not somebody's name. It goes to the dinosaur. Yay! Would you like me, Jack? I'll give you the microphone. On you go.
Well, in the absence of a last lucky door prize, I reckon should go to Nigel. Yeah. The competitor.
I second that. I kind of wish I'd thought of that. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Anyway, well done, Jack. Thank you. There we go, folks. So, really, from there then, usually at the end of these sessions, I like to encourage a little bit of engagement in the community, because again, these events don't happen if people aren't interested in coming along, and from that point of view, we really want to make these meetups something that people want to come along to. So we've got the discussion forum. There's the Twitter account for Sydphp, obviously or individual ones as well. Look, if there's anything that you're thinking would be a great topic, something you're really interested in hearing more about, it'd be great to hear from you on that. If you've got any great projects ideas and things that you want people to collaborate on, they don't have to wait until the meetup. You can go ahead and tell us about that, and you can share that with the community, and we'll be glad to retweet anything or whatever, just to spread the word about it. But the main thing is, just really want to make sure that get you guys in there and participating. So yeah, thanks a lot for
very active, Dave.
It has been very active over the last while. Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much indeed for that. And from there, is there anything anybody wants to discuss? Not that I'm trying to make this like a bit of a formal meeting or anything like that, but is there anything that anybody wants to raise? Any topics you want to shout out and hear about?
Self-help.
Self-help? I do actually. I do self-help. I do recordings where I just say, hey, you can do it. There's something really, really reassuring about someone just telling you that, even though they don't know what you do. Hey, look, see, you can do it. I believe you can do it. Yeah. So, On a more serious note, I guess there's still quite a lot of beer over in that direction because it's a pub, yeah. So we should probably get to it. So just want to say a big thanks to our sponsors tonight. That was really good of those guys to come along and give some prizes for us. So appreciate that. And maybe they're the sort of guys who would benefit going along to WordCamp and having a chat there. Yeah, so WordCamp, shout out for WordCamp once again. Absolutely. So sounds exactly like it's the target market actually. So good on Cliff and Patrick, so get in there. Well, I'll stop waffling on, guys. It's been great to have you here. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you again this time next month. So last Thursday month. Cheers.